Welcome to the California Maverick, a channel fighting for a free and sane California. Politicians in Sacramento could pass a bill as early as this week that will kill single-family homes and destroy suburban neighborhoods across the state. We got a lot to cover, so let's get into it. Senate Bill 79, SB 79, the Abundant and Affordable Homes Near Transit Act, introduced by California Senator Scott Wiener, allows multifamily housing within a half a mile of major transit stops, up to 7 stories. It overrides local zoning restrictions that prioritize single-family homes. Its aim is to increase housing supply, reduce living costs, and boost public transit use, and lower greenhouse gas emissions. So basically, if your neighbor sells his or her home or their home, a developer can purchase it, tear it down, and build an apartment up to 7 stories high. And it gets streamlined because it's exempt from all the environmental regulations and local regulations and zoning laws. So no approval is needed. And I know you're thinking, well, what's the big deal? Can you imagine having your home in your neighborhood and then a 7-story building getting put right next to you? And anytime one of your neighbors decides to sell their home because they're so expensive, only developers and private equity firms can purchase them, they'll tear it down and another apartment complex goes up. Rinse and repeat until there are no longer any single family homes in your neighborhood. Everyone's going to be crammed in these buildings. And I know what it says is near transit, and it has to be a major transit stop. But they could argue that once they put in this 7-story apartment, it will become a major transit spot. But it doesn't stop there. It gets worse. Assembly Bill 2097, AB 2097, that was passed in 2022, removes or bans parking lot minimums within half a mile of a major transit stop. So, on top of putting a 7-story apartment building in the middle of a neighborhood, it doesn't need a parking lot to park cars. So where do you think these people are going to park? All over the street. And your quiet neighborhood that some people, if they bought a house in the last couple of years, spent $400,000 to $500,000 to $600,000 to $700,000, are now going to have lines that are miles long because you have to go through the stop signs and you have T intersections, 4-way stops, speed bumps. You're going to have bumper to bumper traffic for hours in your neighborhood before you even get home. And another bill that was passed in 2021, Senate Bill 9, SB 9, was touted as allowing single family lots or single family homes to be able to have an ADU, an accessory dwelling unit. So a small little house on your property so you can rent out to help the housing crisis. However, it allows you to split a single family lot into 4 units or up to 4 units, including ADUs. So now you have another exemption that bypasses local zoning and restrictions to be able to split up single family lots. The problem with this bill is that there are some cities that deemed it unconstitutional and are challenging it in court. When a property owner adds an ADU, it basically negates Prop 13. What Prop 13 does is protect property owners from increasing their property tax. Currently, there are protections for homeowners and property owners to pay property tax with the original value that they purchased their home. When you add an ADU, it basically negates that, and now you have to get the lot appraised with the new value of the home. So it increases the property taxes significantly. So if you bought your home 15 years ago for $200,000 in San Francisco, and then you decide to add an ADU, you now have to get your lot appraised again. And now your property value is probably worth $900,000 to $1 million, maybe more. And now you have to pay the property taxes on that. So it's not worth the extra little bit of income you're making by renting out that ADU. So in comes SB 79, and if it passes, it basically says, well, forget all that. Anybody can purchase a single family lot, developer, private equity firm, it doesn't matter, and they can do whatever they want with that plot of land. They can tear it down, build an apartment, it doesn't matter. They're exempt from everything. And that's a really big problem. This is all under the guise of solving the housing crisis by creating more affordable homes while also protecting the environment and reducing greenhouse gas emissions. But the reality is bills like SB 79 are to save public transit. That's the focus of these policies. Public transit, particularly in Los Angeles, is a significant financial burden because of salaries, maintenance, unions, and they have low ridership. No one rides these things. I constantly mention in my videos that I work in downtown Sacramento. The light rail train that moves around downtown is empty. The only people that ride it are homeless. The same with the buses. It's full of homeless people. No one rides these things. They're dangerous, they're dirty, and they take forever. So it's hiding in plain sight. They're telling the public that it's to fund and save public transit because they invested billions of dollars, and they continue to invest all this money into public transit. And one of the things that they argue is that transit-oriented living saves families $14,000 annually. And this bill simultaneously will benefit the climate. But the policies from the California Air Resources Board and the Cal EPA impose substantial and significant taxes and fees on gasoline and gas-powered vehicles, making driving expensive. Again, it goes back to not wanting people to drive and being reliant on public transportation. And SB 79 is one of a long line of policies meant to concentrate populations in dense areas, making people dependent on government-funded transit and assistance. This is meant to create a societal divide, a class divide. It's not about race, color, or creed. It has nothing to do with that. It's the haves and the have-nots. You have elites living in gated communities while the rest of us are relegated to these dense, under-resourced areas, high crime, homeless, and poor schools. Do you think Scott Weiner, who wrote this bill, is going to live in one of those 7-storied apartments or in one of these neighborhoods? Do you think Gavin Newsom, who just bought his $9 million mansion in the Bay Area, is going to have a 7-storied apartment built right next to his property? Do you think any of these politicians in Sacramento are going to live in these areas? I don't think so. California is turning out to be like the film Elysium. I know it's supposed to have some comparison and contrast to illegal immigration, but that's not it at all. You have everyone else living in squalor and in these gigantic packed mega buildings, and the wealthy ruling class living in their gated community up in space. The resemblance of Elysium to what California is becoming is uncanny. It's very, very eerie, unsettling, if you will. If you think I'm a little bit of a conspiracy theorist or you don't believe me, look at what's happening in LA where the Palisades fires happened. Governor Gavin Newsom has a vision for LA 2.0. He's emphasizing rebuilding affordable multifamily rental housing with $101 million allocated for this purpose. Here's the thing. These people don't want multifamily rental housing. They want their homes back. They want their property back. They want their lives back. They want their schools back. That's what they want. But that's not what Gavin Newsom wants. That's not what Mayor Karen Bass wants. In Dallas, Texas, building permits are issued in roughly 8 days, while in LA County, it takes 51 days for just one of the 90 permits required to rebuild one of those homes. There are 1,200 rebuild applications submitted to Los Angeles County, and only a handful of homes have begun construction. I think it's about 6 or 7. And despite 16,000 structures being destroyed and 150,000 people displaced, I believe only 14% of people have received permits.
You mentioned a couple of things in terms of us expediting. So I signed executive directives right away so that we could cut the red tape. We could get people back building as fast as possible, and we're going to continue doing that.
Yeah, the one thing is they are saying they will not be allowed to start for 18 months.
No, that will not be the case.
Okay, I just hope you're right.
You can hold me to it.
There's 4 groups said that.
No.
That would be they should be able to do it. They should be able to start tonight.
And just like you said, if somebody had their house was destroyed and they're going to rebuild essentially the same, maybe a little bit longer, a little bit higher, they really shouldn't have to go through much of a process. So I want you to know that we are expediting that.
I am more worried because I met at least 8 groups of homeowners, and I'm much more worried about the fact that they said it's 18 months exactly. You have to allow the people to go on their site and start the process tonight.
And we will.
Okay, good.
You can come back and check.
We'll just pretend for a little bit that Mayor Karen Bass wasn't lying to the President of the United States and to the citizens of Los Angeles, and was in fact going to expedite the permitting and building process. There wouldn't even be a need for any of it because the fires and the whole tragedy could have been completely avoided. It was because of negligence by LA officials, state governments, the state's bureaucracy, Governor Newsom, and all the politicians in Sacramento. Poor land management, including poor brush clearance, empty fire hydrants, an empty reservoir, are the reasons why that fire was not contained and spread so quickly and did so much damage. So what's the solution to SB 79? One potential solution is for local governments to remove urban growth boundaries or urban limit lines, allowing single-family home development outside transit-oriented zones. This could potentially alleviate pressure from high-density mandates. However, they're still subject to all the environmental rules like CEQA, the California Environmental Quality Act. Another thing you can do is you can contact your local state assembly member to oppose the bill, to tell them to vote no on SB 79. You can also call your local city council or mayor and ask them to consider moving the urban growth boundaries. A positive is some Democrats in the assembly are hesitant to support the bill because it overrides local governance. SB 79 is the end of the American dream in California. It is the final nail in the coffin. It will change housing forever in the state of California. Believe me when I say this, the American dream will die if SB 79 is passed. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below. If you like this video, leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.